We keep hearing these elite creeps in the media and government say to us, why don't you believe us when we tell you the election wasn't rigged, when we tell you should take the vaccine? And the reason is you suck and you're corrupt. This is why we don't believe. This is why I talk about an information crisis. The information crisis is the fact that Dean Baquet at the New York Times and George Stephanopoulos and all the rest of these guys are as dirty as the mob, except that less violent. So this week, the reason this comes to mind is this week a story broke and was then covered up by the press. And the reason it was covered up by the press is because the story exposed the press. The press, I have to emphasize this, we used to talk about the bias of the press. The press is not biased. The press is corrupt. The right word is corrupt. They're dirty. They're dishonest. They lie constantly in order to support their left-wing agenda. You remember the Hunter Biden laptop story. The New York Post found Biden's laptop. There were emails on it, which basically showed that Hunter Biden was influence peddling and that suggested that Joe Biden was getting a cut of the money that he was making influence peddling and had helped him along in his influence peddling. This is the way the media covered that story. This is Cut 22.
FBI is now investigating whether those alleged Hunter Biden emails are actually connected to a larger foreign intelligence operation.
They may be related to a foreign intelligence operation.
Foreign intelligence operation.
Foreign intelligence.
Foreign intelligence.
Foreign intelligence operation.
For all we know, these emails are made up.
The information found on the laptop may be part of a Russian disinformation campaign.
Part of a Russian disinformation effort.
Described by many intelligence experts as having hallmarks.
All the hallmarks
of a Russian
disinformation.
Russian disinformation
campaign.
This is a classic example of the right-wing media machine.
That's the right-wing media machine. I love that. Brian Stelter's got to be the funniest guy on TV if you find corruption funny, and I certainly would never find corruption funny. Politico was one of the people who reported it that way as well, and now Politico has a reporter, Ben Schreckinger, who has a new book out that have found evidence that some of the purported Hunter Biden laptop material is genuine, including the two emails that we were talking about. A person who had independent access to Hunter Biden's emails confirmed he did receive a 2015 email from a Ukrainian businessman thanking him for the chance to meet Joe Biden. The same goes for a 2017 email in which a proposed equity breakdown of a venture with Chinese energy executives includes the line 10, namely 10 grand, I think it was 10 held by H for the big guy. It was obviously Sleepy Joe. So you say, all right, the election's over. We lost. It's never going to be revoked. That's the way it is. You know, there were polls done by our friends at the Media Research Center saying that if people had known about this story, they would have voted differently and Biden would have lost. But remember, it was knocked off social media. Twitter banned you if you tried to put it on the media because it was Russian disinformation. So all of these guys were lying. They're all corrupt. They were all dishonest. They all knew it was at least worth investigating, and they all covered it up. So you say, well, what's the point? Well, the corruption is ongoing, and I'll show you what I mean. John Durham, remember John Durham? He's the guy who was assigned in the Justice Department to investigate the Russian collusion story that really undermined the first 2 years of the Donald Trump administration. It now looks like it was an FBI hit. That's what it looks like, but we don't know yet. But he's been investigating this, and now he has delivered his first indictment, which is a guy, maybe his second indictment, his first major indictment, a guy named Michael Sussman, a partner at the Perkins Coie law firm who often work for the Clintons, okay? Here's how it was reported on ABC Nightly News.
The special counsel claims that Sussman lied to the FBI, saying he was not representing any clients and suggesting he was acting as a good citizen. But the special counsel believes Sussman was representing a tech company and the Hillary Clinton campaign. Attorneys for Sussman say the case is baseless and unprecedented.
And here's how it was reported on NBC and CBS Evening News. Yeah. Why? Why are they covering up? All right. See, people are trying to play this down. They're saying, oh, it's another one of these things like Michael Flynn lied to the FBI, because when they indict you for perjury, it usually means they can't get you for the crime itself. But that's not what this is. That is not true. And they're saying, oh, is this all you got? No, he brought in this indictment because the statute of limitations was about to run out. It may be the first of many indictments, okay? And this is not like Michael Flynn, who was railroaded with this false charge of lying to the FBI. Even the FBI agents who interviewed Michael Flynn said they didn't think he was lying. This is different, right? Sussman took allegations that Trump was being bankrolled by a Russian bank. He took those to the FBI, right? To James Baker, I think, at the FBI. And he told them he wasn't being paid by Hillary, but he was. And he did this because the press wouldn't report on these allegations, but they would report on an FBI investigation into the allegation once it was leaked that the FBI was investigating the allegations. Did the same thing with the famous Russian dossier. Remember that fake dossier that had Trump with prostitutes and all this stuff? James, or as we call him, Muggsy Comey, briefed Trump on the investigation, then leaked the briefing to the press because the press would report on the briefing when they wouldn't report on the dossier because everybody knew the dossier was fake. This sets off 2 years of reporting that severely hurt the Trump administration, so it's in the past and who cares? But the press not covering it is not covering their own corruption, committing an act of corruption in real time while we're watching. And it's not just them, it's also the FBI. Because if you think the FBI didn't know that Sussman was lying, that's ridiculous. He was pals with James Baker. James Baker said this was he came to me based on a pre-existing relationship. And these are the same guys, the same FBI guys who put the Trump hater Peter Strzok into the Mueller investigation about Russian collusion, right? This is Peter Strzok who told his adulterous girlfriend, the girlfriend he was having an adulterous affair with, she said, "Oh no, I hope Trump doesn't win." And he said, no, we'll stop it, right? So this was like a hit on the President of the United States by the FBI. And this is the same FBI we were covering just a couple of weeks ago who couldn't get out of bed to investigate our young women our young women athletes who were being serially molested by the U.S. gymnastics doctor, right? Same FBI. And who are they investigating? Who are the FBI investigating when they're not investigating, serial rapists and all this? Here's Christopher Wray, head of the FBI, cut 5.
Starting back in June of 2019, I elevated racially and ethically motivated violent extremism to a national threat priority, which is our highest threat priority level. And I think that has already shown fruits in the fact that we have effectively doubled the number of domestic terrorism investigations and arrests since that time. We have also created a domestic terrorism hate crimes fusion cell to help increase the level of intelligence and information flow that goes out. Certainly from a lethality perspective, as you noted, Mr. Chairman, we have seen those kinds of domestic violent extremists responsible for the most lethal activity over recent years, although I would add that in 2020, we saw a significant uptick in lethal action and violence by anti-government, anti-authority violent extremists to go along with the racially motivated violent extremists.
He's investigating you. He's investigating people who think the government is too powerful. It's all about January 6th. It's all about the charge into the Capitol, which I have said many times I thought was a horrible thing. I thought Trump screwed the pooch on that. He should have come out much faster and stopped it. So they had a demonstration because a lot of these people feel these January 6th protesters are being railroaded. They had a demonstration. They had to put the fence back up around the Capitol so AOC wouldn't have a nervous breakdown. They put the fence back up. You can't get into the people's house because all these protesters were going to show up. There were more police and undercover feds. Here's a picture of the undercover feds. You know, this is like greetings, Trump supporters. I, too, am a right-wing insurrectionist. Meanwhile, how many people were watching when they found all these Haitians hiding under the bridge at the borders, which are now completely open? Thousands of people out there, no reporters covering that except from Fox News. Fox News sent a drone up and the Biden administration made sure the drone was made illegal so they weren't exposed, but they were exposed anyway because the law enforcement took reporters up in a chopper instead. You know, journalism and law enforcement are urgently important things, both of them. We believe in journalism. We believe in law enforcement. They are the ways we expose corruption. They are dishonest and corrupt. And that corruption is because they are all the same people. You know, Eric Felton at The Federalist wrote a piece showing that Sussman and Baker were pals. We know that they were pals, but Baker was also pals with David Corn at Mother Jones, and he's the one who brought him the part of the Steele dossier, which was passed on to the FBI, which was then leaked to the press. Listen to just this conversation. I usually don't play other commentators, but this is an important little piece of an interview. Trey Gowdy, the former U.S. prosecutor, now on Fox, and the ace Wall Street Journal reporter Kim Strassel. Here's a little, just a little clip about what happened to all these people.
In terms of culpability and accountability, we as society, too. You know, Andy McCabe leaves the FBI, he resigns, and he's terminated. Terrible handling of both the Russia thing and the Clinton Foundation probe. He was found to lack candor, approve media calls when he should not have. And what's the first thing that happened? CNN hires him as a contributor. You know, when we as society won't acknowledge that there have been failings and move these people out of positions of power, how can we expect that there's going to be any impetus for the organization to change itself?
You know, to your point, Kim, if I'm not mistaken, Peter Strzok is an adjunct professor at Georgetown. Now, Mick Mulvaney is a graduate of Georgetown, and he can't get a teaching gig there. But Peter Strzok, who manifests incredible bias against a presidential candidate while he was investigating that candidate, yeah, let's sign him up. Wow.
The FBI, the press, the academy, they all know each other. They're all pals with each other. They collude together, and they have gone bad. So the next time Don Lemonhead or Norah O'Donnell or any of these press goons say to you, why don't you believe us when we tell you the election wasn't rigged? Why don't you believe us when we tell you the vaccine is good? And I believe in the vaccine. I think the numbers show the vaccine is working pretty well. But the reason we don't believe them is because you stink, you guys, and you're dirty. You are dirty, and you need to be replaced by better people than yourselves. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe, and you will get more terrific content like this.